of truth, wearing the helmet of love, bearing the shield protecting the real, thy sword of truth from above. Come and shrine the living word, the emerald glory of truth. Oh, come, Holy Spirit, now reveal the mystery of life to our youth. Lead every parent, teachers, and children, quicken with purpose divine. May holy wisdom sent from above help them reality find. Mother of world, our dear Athena, daughters of flame we invite. Teach us the way, the truth, the light, perfection of God aright. From all mankind let us reason together, the law of the Christ let us hear. Humbly we listen and gratefully follow the truth and the light that you bear. Pallas Athena, patron of youth, comforting spirit of truth, serving the nations, great comic Lord, justice of God execute. Bless the holy Vestal Virgins, temple of Vesta at Crete. To all heavenly hosts we sing thy praise and gratefully sit at thy feet. Help us unveil the jewel of truth, all nations and kindreds and tongues shall see thy glory cover the earth, waken the hearts of the young. Pallas Athena, Vesta dear, oh anchor the light of the sun into the planet earth today, the victory of God in one. Righteousness always and destiny understand, O soul immortal thou art. Lovingly, trustingly, Pallas Athena dear, may thy truth live in each heart.
Gracious ones, the golden stream of time is qualified with that holy knowledge of divine truth which God is. And as I come to you this afternoon, I also bear witness to the supreme power of truth to transmute and transform the mind of man into a state of wholesome majesty, where the thoughts rising above the plane of the ordinary take delight in every little manifestation, as though it were the throne room of truth. There is, precious ones, within the consciousness of mankind, a divine quality whereby the truth can be sought and found. And it is a transforming power, as though in a stuffy room one were to throw up a window, so the great plains of the mind are infiltrated by the loveliness of right thought and right action, as applies to any condition which has inherent within it the strands of holy beauty and magnificence. In the natural order of things, these are perceived, especially in the floral kingdom. And you can expand your awareness of God as you expand your appreciation and gratitude for the holy forms which the flower kingdom bring into manifestation, together with the distillations of the sweetness of the perfume of the soul. For there is an affinitized vibratory action in the perfume of a rose and the perfume of the soul of God. I perceive then the true reality of the creation as resident above the exterior pattern. And when I perceive the lowering of the etheric pattern of divine beauty into the exterior pattern, in the congruency and similitude of God, I rejoice that an object of divine affection has become one with the immortal schema. Now then, as we examine the modes of the times, we cannot give power to negation or the substance thereof, but in the holy name of reason, we can perceive the underlying causes behind each failure of mankind to apprehend the divine intent and cleave unto it with that measure of the soul's grace which will externalize at a given time in space that which God knows man needs. When outer conditions are given then precedent over divine ideals, the frustrations which occur are not so much felt in heaven as upon earth. As an edict then of the karmic board, we from time to time will turn first to a position somewhat neutrary to mankind's concepts, and in that state we refrain from revealing that which shall be, for the modes of mortal creation are foreign to the divine ideal, and our revelation could only be fraught in truth with the peril which man have generated. At other times, and under more favorable circumstances, we recognize that man in love for God and reality has made himself one with God, and the causes which he has set into motion are noble and grand and good and beautiful. Therefore, we can see the light of life bursting forth into reality upon the pages of the future, and our hearts can rejoice to reveal the wonders that are to come. There are times, precious ones, when a warning is deemed urgent by the karmic board to mankind, not for the purpose of bringing about the externalization of our warning, but for the purpose of preventing the creation of mortal thought and feeling from taking its latter toll upon the being of man. The decision is ours, and I think it fortunate that we have some criteria from on high as well as below upon which we can draw in making our decision as to when to warn and when to inspire. To some, our warnings are inspirations and spurs to Spartan grace and activity, whereby they can hold within their heart the divine fire and say, "It shall not be." But there are other times, precious ones, when our warning may, if the mood of man be not proper, serve to further dismay, and therefore we withhold it even when it is needed. It is difficult for mankind to understand just when we speak and when we keep silent, but I assure you that application to the heart of God will show you that we have never acted unwisely from the ascended level. There are times, perhaps, when in reviewing the reactions of mankind to either our warning or our praise, we have regretted that decision in a sense of individual application, that we have recognized that the individual or that a number of individuals' reactions were not proper in the sense that we wish afterward, as an afterthought, that we had changed our technique. This does not mean that we were wrong, precious ones, for mankind, as Saint Germain has told you, are often unpredictable in their activity and reactions to the doings of heaven as well as the doings of mankind upon earth. Enough said. Let me perceive now for you, precious ones, some of the current happenings upon the world scene, and through my perceptions let each one of you draw your own cognitions, your own understanding of the situation, that you may gauge your reactions according to the tempo of the moment. So we hope. The mankind of earth en masse are but a group of individuals. Their experience patterns differ. The national archives and records of the world give some sound advice to mankind if they will heed that advice. But the headstrong emotions, the impulses of the moment are often the victor over man's calmness and studied activity. So then, impulse is often the match thrown into the forest dry because of drought, which catches then on fire and spreads, as you say it, like wildfire, until the innocent flora and fauna must themselves be sacrificed. The immovable objects, the fixed flowers and grass, cannot flee the conflagration of the roaring, billowing fire. They must stand and be withered in the blast of the flame. The little animal life and tiny creatures, feeling the oncoming blast, do rush with almost certain madness to escape, that they may be delivered from it. Yet multitudes of them perish as the rapidity of all that is coming upon them spreads rapidly. Fanned then, in many cases, by the wind of human emotion that sweeps around the world, as the communication below and the communication above, the communication of the inner and the outer, flow forth into action. The world today is somewhat a tinder box, precious ones. It is a tinder box, and you cannot deny it in the name of holy reason. The power of nuclear strike is now falling into the hands of some of the lesser nations of the world, and it soon would be possible for them, by concealment and treachery, to plant these devices within the heart of a greater nation and trigger them from afar by radio signal. Do you see then how that sudden destruction could come upon a great nation, even by the treachery of a small country? Then you will understand the concern in the capitals of the world to prevent the spread of nuclear power. Yet I ask you, how can they? Have the police forces of the world, precious ones, been able to take the weapons from the criminals of the world? Do they not always find a way to get them? Well, then you may understand how that the Karmic Board did struggle for so long to prevent mankind from externalizing nuclear power. And we were successful. And I would even boast of that success in keeping mankind from this horrible, lethal weapon for so many years. Yet we would long ago have given this and greater activities to the mankind of earth if they had demonstrated a proper respect and understanding for one another. It may interest some of you to know that Alfred Nobel himself, when shown the records of mankind's distress, was astounded at the fact that mankind had much greater momentum of wrong action in their thought and feeling world than he had recognized, which prompted him, after the creation of the scientific aspects of destructivity, to offer the Nobel Peace Prize to the world as a small token of propitiation to mankind for the creation of that which he did not intend to be used wrongly. Precious ones of the light, I must ask you to refrain during this address from any unnecessary movement. There are certain individuals here who are most anxiously awaiting the delivery of every word which I have to say, because they know that this is a rare opportunity whereby we can confer certain very definite measures of responsibility upon the student body. I thank you. Gracious one, the peril of the world I need not delineate for you at length, but I would comment upon it by saying that there is only one power, and one power alone, which possesses the capability of holding mankind in a relative state of safety, and that is the power of God. There is no other way whereby mankind can prevent almost total destruction of this planet. Now there may be some of you who at first may say, why did Pallas Athena say this? I tell it to you because it is truth. And I tell you, precious ones, that sooner or later, some individual whose mind is not attuned to the powers of light will unleash this destruction unless the spiritual energies of this planet are kept active and dominant, and unless mankind are calling and spreading progressively the teachings of truth among mankind. The knowledge which they now have is almost certain destruction to them, unless, as I said before, they can acknowledge that there is no power but God that can act, and begin the process of attuning with Him and the powers of light. Precious ones, I do not need to tell you that the world is filled with asylums for the insane. I do not need to tell you that there are many more insane people outside of the asylums than there are within them. And I assure you that some of these are engaged in the practice of law. Some of these are engaged in the practice of medicine, in legally constituted hospitals of the manifold lands of the world. Some are engaged, strange as it may seem, in the practice of psychiatry, and there are sick minds within governments. Therefore, precious ones, when you consider the peril of these conditions, you will recognize that when you vest atomic power and energy in the hands of a ruthless individual, you can very well have the repetition of past cycles of destruction in any age. Then, why am I warning you? Why am I telling you of this? Certainly not because either I or any who are with me desire to have destruction brought about, for I am securing for you by the power of truth the prevention of just such an activity. Well, precious ones, do you see then that what I am doing is giving you a warning for a purpose, and to prevent destruction, and because there is no other way to stop it but to see that the powers of light take a hold of every individual who is measuring their energy by insane patterns and cycles, and see that they are either removed from the positions of authority which they hold to the peril of mankind, or that they are restrained from wrong action which would endanger the world balance of power and bring about the slaughter and death of the innocents. There are many of you, precious ones, who have recoiled in terror as you have contemplated the going forth of the soldiers at the birth of Christ, and the slaying of the firstborn children, and the slaying of the man-children. Well, precious ones, pause to consider now what it would mean if a hydrogen bomb were to be dropped upon one of the major cities of the world, and think then of the terrible and frightful destruction that would be wrought upon not only the children of that city, but of the aged, and of the young and adult population, who would be stopped in their tracks in the wink of an eye and transported out of the body into a seething volcano of destruction. Precious ones, this has never been the divine intent, nor is it now the divine intent. To prevent this is worth the devotion of anyone's entire life and many lives, so that no generation should ever feel this scourge and misuse of divine energy. For atomic energy is God's energy. You know in the name of holy truth that this is so. You know that they are tampering with the very cohesive power of the universe and are unleashing that power in a wave of destruction. For God Himself, without the same type of operation, could simply withdraw the magnetism of His love from creation, and the moment that he withdrew the magnetism of his love, all cohesive power would be taken from every cell, every atom, from every nucleus, from every electron. And as this occurred, precious ones, it would all collapse as in one great cloud of cosmic dust. You see, the greatest power of destruction must come from the power to create. And the power to create is God's power, and it is also man's power. That has, however, been misused in the past and is being misused today. But the power to destroy is also the power of God, whereby at the end of the Manvantara, in withdrawing the energy from the eternal cycles, the great pralaya does take place. And in the kneeling of the deity, the bowing of the knee unto himself, with the accomplishment of any given cycle of creation, he begins the holy conception that brings forth the new Manvantara and extends out into space the great radiance of himself to fulfill the law of eternal cycles, the law of being. But mankind have unfortunately accentuated the destructive nature and have thought to be as God by taking life from those who have every right to live, by those who have no right to destroy. I think then I shall draw the curtain back for a moment upon the reasons for this. You see, precious ones, it seems to give strength to individuals to destroy, for they feel somehow that when they have in their power the right over other lives, as some of the ancient kings did, that by taking the life of other people and watching them die, they seem to feel a spur of enjoyment in their world, as though they themselves were immortal. This, of course, is not true. It is ridiculous on the face of it. Yet, somehow, in their own heart and the wickedness thereof, they have thought to glorify themselves by taking power over other lives. They are not afraid, precious ones, who do these things, of the wrath that is to come. They have no fear, for their eyes are blinded to truth and to reality. But the most important thing to remember, precious ones, is not the destructive acts of these individuals, but to remember the great power of creativity that is within you, and to remember that you have the power to create conditions which are proper and just and holy and good. Therefore, you can, if you will, initiate in yourself and in civilization those divine responses to divine stimuli which will provide this generation with the bulwark of spiritual truth which it needs. For truth, precious ones, is not merely the spoken word alone, nor is it the printed page, but it is the life within man which is lived in the divine image. Truth is a living thing. It is delicate, and it is vibrant with life. I utilize, and I am the green flame of pure truth, because it is ever verdant, ever fulfilled with the first release of newness of life. Newness of life is that which is ever new and cannot die. This, then, is the life of God, and truth is synonymous with life. For life and truth are expressions of the Divine One, and by expressing Him, you express love, and all that mankind have expressed through the centuries, which has wrought destructive intent, which has brought injury to the populations of the world, which has sacked the treasure houses of the world and made the world poor, has never been an action of divine love, but has ever been a wrong action. Yet history has often glorified these men, while spending but a few scant remarks upon those who are filled with virtue and purity. However, the annals and chronology of heaven are not like the history of the world. In heaven we glorify those whom the world knows not, with the great power of the record of truth within themselves. Therefore none of you need ever fear that you should create, as some men do, a monument as an expression to yourself, a memorial to all generations, that they might call you blessed? For God has blessed those of you who practice truth with that essential life of himself that can never be taken from you. You have the richness of the treasures of heaven resident within you as you express God's life. For God's life itself, when it becomes your own, is your assurance of immortality, and is your assurance of divine fame. For divine fame is that which glorifies the Creator, and because it is akin to him, it should be spelled with the L within it. And this then becomes not fame, but flame. Do you see, precious ones, how that the words of the language itself have been altered by mankind? And therefore, when they removed from the word flame the L, which is in the ancient Hebrew language synonymous with God, they took from it the divine power and made it worldly fame, stripped then of righteousness and truth, but temporary power was its expression. Man then has often sought in temporarum to express some form of greatness, and all of this has died out as human flames do. But as the great solar fires, precious ones, the divine flame of the sun behind the sun, which never goes out, does exist. And it is this reality which severs the veil of Isis and reveals pure truth to those initiates who can understand that truth is life. Truth, then, in the eyes of God, is the expression of the Word, which came forth in the beginning, by which all things were made, and by which all things are sustained. Your thought, then, when it is akin to the divine thought, as in the precious doctrines expounded by Mary Baker Eddy in Christian Science, are themselves expressions of truth in part, and when they are made a part of mankind's thought, whether they be of Christian Science or they be of other activities of light which have been revealed, they are a blessing to those who sustain them, because the power of right thought is truth. But when that truth becomes active in the life of a person, so that that person expresses the printed word in the living word, then truth does live. And it is to make truth live that I am come. And it is to make truth live that the Karmic Board has caused this edict which I am speaking to be issued forth this day, that men may see that they, as flames of immortality, are clothed upon with the spoken word. This is living truth, which cannot die. And therefore it is true that thou shalt not surely die. Yet mortality must of itself die, because it is not clothed upon with truth, but is the expression of the serpentine energies of mankind, used as the destructive action which strikes at the heel of the Christ. Therefore the words, thy seed, spoken to the serpent, shall bruise the serpent's head, are correct. And man must understand that thou shalt bruise his heel is correct also. Man must understand the mystery of all that has been spoken in proper perspective. You see, precious ones, when the feet of the Christ are placed upon the serpent's head, what do you suppose happens? He may bruise the heel. But, precious ones, the head of the serpent must also be bruised, and therefore the intellect of mankind must come under the domination of the Christ principle of holy truth, and the wisdom of man must be, as it is, absorbed into the Godhead and tied to that. Unless it is tied to that, it is simply truth in temporarum. It is temporary truth. It is not eternal. And in order to be virtuous, truth must be eternal. It must be veritas. It must be forever and forever and forever. Hence the words of St. Paul, our beloved friend Hilarion. Jesus the Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. This is truth, and man must understand it as truth, and man must be that truth, and then the truth is made to live in heart, in mind, in hand, and man becomes clothed upon with the power of God. Now, precious ones, let me declare something to you that is almost completely self-evident, but is seldom seen. When man is clothed upon with the power of God, he is God. And because mankind do not manifest the power of God, they are not God in manifestation. And if you will add the O to the word God, you will see that you have the word good. Therefore, man today, when they are manifesting a quality that is evil, must recognize that evil spelled backward is live. And therefore, man is not living when he is doing the will of the human, nor is he manifesting the power of good or the power of God. Hence Jesus, when asked the question, Good Master, what must I do to inherit eternal life, did spake in this wise and say, Why callest thou me good? For there is none good but one, and that is God. For he wanted to clarify to the individual that the power of good was not necessarily resident in the outer, mortal, human self, but was always resident within the power of God or good, which is within all, and especially is made manifest in those who externalize it, and therefore become that goodness which God is. This is not a sickly or a sticky type of goodness, precious ones, which in the bane of self-righteousness holds prideful accomplishment dangling over the head of its auditors, but is the pure, humble way of the Christ, kneeling before the disciples and saying to them, I will wash thy feet, for he that will be great among you is the servant of all. And this is the office of holy truth, to serve mankind even as I am this day. And I come to you with the love of my heart to wash the feet of your identity with the holy waters of truth, that I may purify you from wrong concepts, and that you may understand how there is a great need to face the circumstances of the world and its illusions, which naturally do bring about destruction, with the immortal power of truth, which cannot be bent, which cannot be cut, which cannot be burned, which cannot be destroyed, which cannot be broken. For truth itself is invulnerable and always will be invulnerable. Truth is the law. The law is truth. Truth is love, and love is all-powerful. When love covers the planet around about then and saturates the hearts of all of its people, they can no longer be evil or manifest that which is evil and shadow or negation. They can only manifest the power that lives and the power of truth. They cannot have hidden motives in their mind or heart. They cannot be impure, therefore. They will be honest before God, and they will be honest before man. Precious ones, have you ever noticed how that when individuals are given some bit of information which is absolute error, precious ones, about some individual, how that even so-called and supposedly good people, even sometimes our chelas, will lean over to catch the word that is spoken, and while at first they can hardly entertain the idea that the thing that is imparted would be true of the one whom it is spoken about, they later contemplate in their mind this little bit of juicy information, and then proceed to decide that, well, maybe it isn't true at all, but perhaps it could be. Then, precious ones, when that has simmered in their consciousness for a while, it does not take long, because of the infestation of its source, for them to decide, well, perhaps there may have been some justification about it, for from the folds of their memory they draw forth some supporting evidence which in their own eyes would justify that perhaps this person, under certain conditions, might have done just what the individual told them the individual did. Therefore, you see, precious ones, there is a gradual weakening to man's responses to the negative stimuli, and eventually the individual breaks down completely and decides that the individual is completely guilty without the benefit of either jury or fact. And so an individual is condemned wholly innocent in the eyes of God or man, all by reason of the infestation of the thorn of gossip and cruelty. This cruelty has been practiced almost without reserve in the various religious institutions which we have founded around the world, and this activity is no exception to it. I would like then today to tell you this, that we are fishers of men, and we have been fishers of men for a long time. Whenever an activity is founded, such as this activity, we go out into the great human sea, and we cast down our nets, and we attempt, precious ones, to find the very best people to perform the necessary functions that will support the endeavors of holy truth and manifest the best expression of God among mankind. We do this with diligence, and we give our very precious spiritual energies to that purpose, as your beloved El Morey and St. Germain have in this endeavor and in many that preceded it. However, we no sooner get started, precious ones, at this activity and secure a few precious life streams before other individuals are very busy tearing down the very ones that we bring in, so that in the eyes of mankind they attempt to tear asunder the activities which we of the ascended host have created. And this is never done, precious ones, as an activity of justification. They need no justification to do this, for they do it, precious ones, because they are either jealous of the creation of some individual who is associated with an endeavor, and they are either jealous, precious ones, or they are angry because some individual does not pay them proper recognition. You see, precious ones, the negative energy then of the world enters into it, and the sinister force coming in attempts to deprive the student body at large of the benefit of universal harmony. They have done this to organization after organization through the pages of history, and they do it with only one thought in mind, and that is divide and conquer. Precious ones, they wish to divide and they wish to conquer. I tell you today they have no power, for we are establishing the jewels of our perfection among you, and we are establishing perfection in you even without the need for those individuals or any individual to pay us allegiance. We have decided, precious ones, because of the great outflow of power that comes to you through this class, and also that has come to you through previous classes, to confer upon you the attention of heaven in a greater measure. And we think that because some of you do seem to succeed just a little bit better when you are given some recognition, that we will give you recognition from now on, and that the angels of heaven will stand round about those devotees of our holy truth and will pay you some special form of attention and encouragement, whereby you may receive it from us, even if mankind themselves are remiss to do so. Of course, I recognize that this will not stop those carping harpies who desire to go out here and perform a nefarious service for the sinister force. They are few, however, who do so deliberately and by intent. The majority of them are simply caught up in old habits which they have formed almost from the time they came into this embodiment, and many times carried over from previous embodiments, which is a direct point of recognition, precious ones, that they know within themselves that they are not doing the will of God. They feel wholly inadequate. They feel incomplete. They feel that they have great needs. And because of these great needs and because of this feeling of incompleteness, they go out, precious ones, and attempt to tear down others in order that they may seem to build up themselves. This is never true, precious ones, for each such act brings the weight of more karma to their own doorstep, and the energy they have used could have been used to spur them on to the pathway of righteousness. And it does not, you see, but it goes down the drain, and mankind find that they get deeper and deeper into innuendos of human trouble and grief. Whereas if they would only follow the path of righteousness, the law is accurate, the law is perfect, the law is pure, the records of heaven are righteous. You do not think, precious ones, that if an auditor were to examine our records, that he would find that we have made mistakes, do you? Surely you must recognize that in heaven we keep accurate records, for you do a pretty good job of doing it down here, precious ones. And with the machinery in this modern day and age which you use, you are even doing a better job than people. Yet the machines do sometimes make mistakes. And I think if you will be honest, you will admit that people make many, many mistakes themselves in judgment and errors of conception. Do not be so sure, precious ones, of all of your assessments against people then, but recognize that we know far better what is locked within the human heart than any of you, and we have been willing again and again to show mercy and grace to mankind, and to pick them up after they have fallen, and to give them our limitless assistance and the limitless assistance of the legions of light. Do you not think then, when you pause to consider how difficult it is in this great net of mankind to find individuals that we can catch in our nets and bring into a new activity and endeavor, that once they are brought in, they ought to be given every bit of assistance that the law will allow, so that Moriah's activities can succeed, so that the powers of light can go forward? You see, precious ones, the activity of the spiritual counterfeiters goes on with great intensity, and there are many individuals upon this planet who, innocently enough perhaps, are victims of a hoax, whereby they perpetrate hoaxes against many of mankind, going forth in the name of Christ and telling mankind that which is not truth, but is definitely an untruth, simply because they do not know the truth and do not live the truth themselves. They are not connected with us in any way, but they tie into the spiritual counterfeits of ourselves, and then they think they have made contact with pure truth itself. There is, however, a self-evident difference, which I am sure you can recognize, and there are many earmarks which, if you carefully examine some of these things, you will understand are in evidence. Precious ones, the feeling of buoyancy, the feeling of life, the feeling of love which we impart to mankind ought to be self-evident to you, that we are acting to free mankind and give your beloved Moriah and Saint Germain every bit of assistance which the great law will allow, not only in thwarting, precious ones, the activity of destruction among mankind in the outer macrocosmic world, whereby the planet Earth would destroy itself and its civilizations, but also to stopping the destructive intent of the sinister force and its psychic projections against every individual who takes a stand for our light. Now I want to point out that in the midst of this group here, there are any number of individuals who have successfully made calls to us for the holding up of this activity. I want to thank you, not by naming you, but by pointing out that this is so to you today. I am grateful, and I know that your beloved Moriah and Saint Germain are grateful, and I know that one day when you see the record, you will also be grateful without limit. Precious ones, then, in the name of truth, let us live truth. In the name of truth, let us be truth. In the name of truth, let us hold truth for mankind. Let us see that they do not slip down into the shifting sands of darkness and become members of that which is not the divine plan. Let us see that they do not become tied to the sinister hierarchy, the false hierarchy. Let us see that they are free from psychic entanglement in the webs, precious ones, which they have woven from the psychic net to trap mankind and to bring him to a position of helplessness, where as a bird of prey they can devour you. Precious ones, I have one word I want to say in closing my address, and that is this. Never believe the psychic, precious ones, for there is nothing good whatsoever in it. They will trap you and snare you by giving you all manner of good-sounding phrases. They will give you all manner of delightful expressions. And once they have a hold of you, once they have securely roped you in to accept what they have to offer you, then they will begin the sacking of your world, the draining of your energy, the flowing off to a vampire activity of all that is right and just and pure and true within you, until they have reached a point where you have served your usefulness. And as was said of Peter, Satan has desired to have you that he may sift you as wheat. Once they have sacked you, once they have vampirized you, once they have taken your energy and you no longer are a part of their plan, they will then leave you helpless to die, as it were, upon the beaches of life, bleached in the sun as whited bones, and without so much as a drop of holy mercy. For they do not have mercy, and they are ruthless, and they have no good intent, and they are a part of blackness and not of light. Precious ones, then, come to the feet of God's holy truth. Take, precious ones, the life energy flowing from your heart in your right hand, and wash now the feet of the Christ of your being. Wash the feet of the Christ of your being with holy truth, and know that that vision which mankind have formerly perceived has not been completely free of human dust. Therefore you must wash off even the feet of the saints, that you may clearly see the great truth which they held out to you. Blessed are the feet of them which preach the gospel of peace, and bring glad tidings of good things. For our lovely lady Leonora shall bring good tidings to thee this afternoon. I am grateful for your attention. Because of the length of my address, I recognize how that you have steeled your mind to accept my love and my love for truth. I trust that with the unfolding of the days ahead, my words shall provide some measure of encouragement, some measure of direction, some measure of assistance, whereby the freedom of man shall be established in a greater outpicturing. I thank you, and in the name of holy truth and the shield of faith, I bless you. I am Athena.
Greetings, O mankind of earth. From the center of the earth, I, Pelleur, in directing my radiance unto you, pour out the substance of our energy, the energy that feeds the mineral deposits of the world, that draws the pristine power of the sun into manifestation, and is the confluent influence which coordinates with the other trine phases of nature to conspire to keep this planet in its orbit and manifesting the diurnal action of the earth, so that mankind may have not only springtime and summer, but fall and winter, the 4 seasons, which are akin to the manifestation of the infant, the child, the young adult, and the old man. The manifestation, then, of nature is cyclic upon the planet and is according to the eternal cycles of life, which are a part of the divine plan presently manifesting for the mankind of this earth, and bearing witness to the eternal interest of Almighty God for all who live upon this planetary body and call this planet home. Today, as I come to you, I bear with me the great love of Mother Virgo and myself, and the love of the hosts of light who are with us in the center of the earth, to hold up the pillars of witness and to see to it that all is well here, from whence we come to pour forth our love. We know full well that surface activity which mankind have called life. We are fully aware of mortal defects and the agitations which have resulted in an expenditure of our energy and the energy of those devas, of the air, of the fire, and of the water, who serve with us the needs of mankind. Precious ones, the hour is drawing nigh when the perfection of the Christ must burn away the barriers of human density erected between the hearts of men, which have delayed the progressed manifestation of the return to the earth planet of the Christ, in manifestation not alone in the heart of beloved Jesus, but in the hearts of the many of mankind, who together then shall welcome him as one welcomes the first flower of May. O mankind of earth, if you could feel the pressure that has been brought to bear upon the earth element as a result of mankind's dissipations and confusions, I am sure that your hearts would understand the words of St. Paul, how that there is a groaning and travail for the planetary body which seeks to be delivered of all that psychic substance and mortal strata which has been imposed upon us and has caused the tiny gnomes of the earth to have bent backs and gnarled forms, whereas the divine intent was to see them formed as God is, as man is, as the angels are, in beautiful and sprightly bodies, more like unto the tiny elves than to the gnomes which are with us at times in the center of the earth, and do abide in most cases closer to the surface of the earth, where they do their ministrations to mankind to provide the necessary deposits of minerals, to see that the crops of the world do burst forth with the necessary nutriments which will feed the body of man and help him to be reasonably free from disease and pain, whereas at the present time he is not. You see, precious ones, it is not so much the result of our lack. It is not so much the result of disservice by the beings of the elements, but it is because mankind have removed from the food which is harvested from the ground much of the necessary and qualified substance which is able to keep mankind in the image of God and likeness of God, by providing the sprightly energies of life which will bring about a reconsecration of the body of man as the great manna power of the 12 substances is released into the body of man according to the law of immortal nutrients. You see, precious ones, mankind are often overburdened with knowledge, and yet right knowledge must be sought, for it is almost, as you say proverbially, like finding a needle in a haystack, when you have to find just exactly what trace element or mineral may be required to remove from your body some form of distress. Countless times the great ascended masters and your own divine presence do find some way of alchemically creating within your earth form a manifestation of that substance when the food which you eat does not contain it. Precious ones of the light, the great law of eternal love within the heart of the earth also manifests within your body and within the electronic substance that composes the being of your body elemental. Do you recognize then how that as we ourselves do administer the earth element to mankind and are the beings ensouling the earth itself, even I and beloved Virgo, I point out to you then, precious ones, how that your own body elemental does ensoul your body temple and provides the necessary cosmic assistance and release of holy wisdom, directing your body in the proper fashion to manifest the perfection which God intends by keeping you harmonized and in Christ's perfection when you turn yourselves over to God and to the power of light to sustain the right action within the cells of your body. For freedom from disease, precious ones, is more than just the adding of physical components to your body temple. It is the manifestation of right speech, of right thought, and of right direction in many ways. You therefore must recognize and know that the unfailing love of God will instruct you within the temple of your mind and heart as to how, through the power of holy attunement, you can circumvent all circumstances governing the manifestation of the flame of life and love within your heart, and secure release from those substances and impurities which find their way unwittingly through the protective screen of the cells of your body, the outer pores, and through the various openings whereby you take in substance. Precious ones, there is a great similarity between the body of the earth itself and the body of man, and it is necessary for you to understand that just as you have in manifestation in the body of man many parasite creations which feed upon the body of man and detract from the manifestation of perfection in his energy, so the earth itself is encompassed around about with various forms of parasite and vampire activities which seem to sap the vital energies which the beings of the earth would bring forth to mankind. And this is, of course, partly according to the decree of the holy law, spoken of old, saying, Thorns and thistles shalt thou bring forth. For mankind, through the introduction of error into their thinking, did transmit to the planetary body which we wear the imposition of psychic substance and the imposition of improper thought and feeling. This feeling, precious ones, could not be accepted in the universe itself, and therefore has become a part of the surface consciousness of mankind and the surface consciousness of this planet, whereby volcanic action, the flow of lava from the bowels of the earth, whereby the mighty winds blowing across the oceans and lands, whereby disturbances of the elements have come about, as nature seeks to throw off the imposed substance from the consciousness and feeling world of mankind. I call to you now, then, precious ones, to radiate forth a flame of love from your heart this night to the tiny beings of the elements who are with me and who serve the planetary need. See that they receive some attention from your precious outer selves, as well as the great flame of God within you. Your outer selves, precious ones, can be consecrated under divine direction, whereby obedience is secured for your life by every part thereof, and thus you command in the temple of your being, even as we command within the center of the earth. And now, precious ones, the captains that are under me have assembled here with me, and they send greetings and love to mankind upon the surface of the earth. We bask in the light of the sun of even pressure, which is pouring out its radiance here, creating the beauteous vegetation which we enjoy within the center of the earth and in the chambers of light which are here, wherein we live. Precious ones, we await with joy the advent of your freedom, the day when the earth itself shall have thrown off all of the impositions of mankind in his erroneous thought, and shall have instituted the Christ principle of spiritual resurrection for the entire planet. Then I think that the earth itself shall burst forth with new flowers which have never before manifested upon the planet, for the tiny beings of nature, the little devas who work with the plants, are holding in reserve deep within their heart the electronic patterns which have been released from the heart of the great silent watcher and these patterns are charged with the love of the centuries for the power of freedom and the flame of freedom. That love then is destined to burst forth as new flowers and new fruit, which mankind will be able to partake of in the 1,000-year reign which mankind have signified as the millennium, when the golden age of purity and freedom for 1,000 years is instituted, that each man may sit beneath his own vine and fig tree, and know that everywhere upon the broad rolling expanse of this planet the hearts of men, as in the painting of the Angelus, are pouring forth paeans of praise to Almighty God, without a rude thought to any part of life or any individual. When all war shall have ceased everywhere upon the planet, and the power of nature is stilled under the radiance and dominance of the Christ Spirit and principle, we await, as you do, the advent of that freedom. We await, as you do, the release of that harmony. We await, as you do, the mighty outpouring of that tone and chord. We await, as you do, that release of light which will cause the mighty sun of even pressure within the center of the earth to pour out light rays, penetrating the surface of the earth itself, and drinking in through the walls of penetration and the tiny pores of the earth, which then will have opened up to breathe the freedom air on the surface. The mighty light rays of the solar flares from the heart of the sun of the system, beloved Helios, then will pour into our chambers his great and magnificent radiance, as the earth itself drinks in the culmination power of many, many cycles of time, when for the first time after this long period the earth itself at last can breathe the air of freedom from the surface, without taint, without abuse, without aught else except the perfection of our sphere. O mankind of earth, would you then cast off your fears? Would you then cease your tears? Would you then feel our love? Would you then raise heart above to God on high, whose very nearness fills all time and space, to indicate to all who are fearless that there is a place in time and space where freedom can be won, and all that is the human mortal concepts long ago begun can be ended by the stroke of purity's law, and then mankind shall fear no more, but rise to our great stature bold, and men shall see that as I am free, so they are also free, and through that great harmony all shall come to a greater love for God. And as their love pours out from one and all, it shall mean the earth is an ark of safety to generations yet unborn, and the root races of the great divine director shall unfold the ancient highways and temples of many parts of the world. The lost cities shall be rediscovered, and virtue shall flourish, and the commerce of hearts in unity, whereby all nature's abundance shall be expanded everywhere, and men shall know that the life flow that is intended is being accomplished, and that all else that was not intended is ended. So then, that which I have spoken, both in riddle and in token, will be understood so clearly that mankind shall know freedom from all woe. And this, precious ones, is our message to you this night. And it is the same message that you shall always hear so long as the need exists for mankind to change and to cast off the yoke of tyranny and peril. You are few in number, but you are mighty in spirit. God has heard the prayer of one man and spared a city. God has heard the prayer of one man and stayed a plague from thousands. God has heard a prayer from one being. The universe has expanded because of the answer. You are one with God, a majority in any conflict, if you know the faith which Michael showed, if you know the faith that knows no defeat. And as I leave you tonight, may I say to you that you and men like you are our hope. You are our hope. You are our hope, even as we are yours. I thank you and bid you good night.